What's up everybody and welcome back to Rebel Ranks, and today I'll be ranking all 10 dimensions in Crash 4. And if you thought I was done milking all of my Crash 4 gameplay, yeah, I've got 2-3 more videos maybe? Yeah.
Darn you, Crash Bandicoot!
Crash 4's dimensions, or in a sense, the level themes. And with so much detail in this game, so much detail in the levels, I had to allocate a whole video just to the dimensions. And like how I ranked the levels where I completely ignored level theme, here I'll be completely ignoring level layout, platforming, or anything gameplay related. What I'll be focusing on is enemies, how they fit with the level, environmental hazards in the foreground, and the scenery of the background, ambient noises or visuals in the background.
And anything else I can think of. All levels in their respected dimensions will be combined. We're going from worst to best and I can't think of anything else, so let's get started.
Number 10, Hazardous Wastes, the second dimension you visit in the game, and this dimension is just lackluster. It's desert themed, I guess, so if anything it's taking inspiration from the motorcycle stages in CTR, and nothing in these stages really stands out. In the first stage it's more open desert with a few walls having trailers and stuff built into the sides. The second stage starts getting a little more industrial with gears and giant torches. Much larger structures are built into the walls, including garages for cars, which by the third level builds into freeways throughout the desert. All repurposed in a Fallout sort of way, with the level being on a freeway with obstacles that seem anything but natural. At the very end of the stage, a monster truck chases you down a freeway, which is basically falling apart. Then there's a boss battle, but now you're at a concert place? I don't know, it doesn't really fit. And as far as the enemies go, there's sharks, little rockers with saw blades, and big rockers with, saw blades. The hazards here are of course the giant torches, but also electric fences and giant swinging mace balls. The boss engine talks to you throughout the level on a little speaker.
Honestly, it isn't really a bad theme. It does have that Mad Max vibe to it, which is kinda cool, but there isn't really anything special here at all.
Number 9, Tranquility Falls, the fourth dimension, ancient Japanese themed, I think. This could be more Chinese inspired, but I'm somewhat confident here. And being that the closest inspiration would be the Great Wall of China levels in Crash 3, this is pretty original. And wow, are these stages beautiful. The background here is so easy to get lost in. Now the progression of this dimension starts with an ancient village on a river, a nice view of the buildings going up the mountains in front of you, beautiful. The second stage has you scaling those buildings. Most of these buildings have more of a temple feel to them, and being that you're scaling a mountain, there isn't any solid ground under you. You finish this stage right at a bumpaberry tree. The third stage then starts and reality becomes fragmented right before your eyes. Well, not really, but the buildings in the background are now just floating. There's a dragon thing going through them. It isn't moving, so I don't know what it's doing, but the bricks falling off of the bottom of the platforms is amazing. It ends with a boss battle with Embryo, and he uses the bumpaberries from the last stage to augment reality. Yeah, it's okay. The enemies here are flytrap lily pads and different things that Embryo possesses, from tiger statues, ancient villagers ringing gongs, and even dragon spirits? And what, ghosts? I don't know.
The theme here is pretty nice. In general, it doesn't really have much going for it, nothing special, nothing really standing out. But the background's really nice. Oh my god, is it beautiful. But it's gonna take more than a nice background to get a dimension to the top of the list.
Number 8, the Snacks dimension, or the Snacks dimension. And this is the second to the last dimension. It takes place way in the future, and I guess it's a city for food places, or a whole planet for food places? I don't know, but it's pretty cool. There isn't much in the way of theme progression. The whole gang lands in this dimension and splits up to get food. The first stage is Crash and/or Coco. The second stage is Dingodile and Tana. And the third stage is Cortex. At the end of the last stage, Cortex steals a mask and Crash or Coco chase after him on crates falling out of the back of a ship. So being that each stage is for a specific character, it doesn't build to anything. There is the background, which is a super futuristic cityscape, and it's great, reminiscent of the future stages in Crash 3. Robots are the main enemies here. They look like their main goal is to clean, so fitting, I guess. Platforming wise, there are flying cars that zoom past. The inclusion of food trucks as a wall running segment is great, and the theme allows for everything from pedestrian oriented walkways to industrial back alleys, to literally in the air running on cars and buses.
Other dimensions have a background like a painting, one that makes you want to sit back and look at it. Like a painting. This dimension looks fun and just drives that desire to want to explore and have fun. However, the lack of theme progression is somewhat noticeable when you compare it to other dimensions, and just leaves this dimension feeling somewhat incomplete.
Number 7, the EGGIPUS dimension, the 7th and prehistoric themed dimension, taking inspiration from the prehistoric levels in Crash 3 but with an actual skybox. And this dimension has some things going for it, but has a lot missing as well. Starting with something nice, the background here is quite beautiful. Lush greenery overgrown as would be in the prehistoric era, huge plants, huge volcanoes, and even huge mushrooms. On to the bad, there isn't really any dimension progression here, only that the last stage is the most intense. Besides that, you start in a prehistoric jungle and you end basically in the same prehistoric jungle. The enemies here are all bugs or giant plants, giant vines, giant insects, or very small dinosaurs. Not sure which. And the natural landscape is pretty nice as well. Nothing here was built to stop you, it's just the lay of the very dangerous land. And the one thing that really does make this dimension stand out is the giant dinosaur that will periodically chase you throughout the last level. It's incredibly unique, and hearing him roaring as you're sliding around is great.
Besides the cool atmosphere created by the T-Rex and the amazing design of the background and foreground, there isn't really much that this theme has going for it. None of the levels really feel that different from each other. It really just goes to show that without theme progression, you don't really give the dimension an opportunity to shine.
Number 6, Insanity Island, the first dimension in the game, and obviously it's Crash's home island, taking inspiration from basically every Crash game. And if you're asking yourself if the only reason this dimension is so high on my list is because of nostalgia,
yes.
I mean, what can I say? Coming off the heels of the Insane trilogy, this was an amazing first dimension. It starts outside on the island in the first level, and inside a sacred cave in the second level. A tiny bit of progression, I'll give it that. The enemies here are lobsters, like in the first level of the first game, as well as some rolling stones and some, native villagers? Spirits? I don't know.
In the second stage, it isn't even that good. All of this score is basically from the first level. But, I mean, come on, with so many callbacks to Crash 1, it's impossible to not completely dig this dimension theme. And with that, we reach the top 5. But, I mean, there's only 10, so I guess we're just technically halfway through, and that's not really anything special.
Number 5, Salty Wharf, the third dimension and home to all of the pirate-themed levels. And I can't recall any pirate-themed levels in Crash except maybe 1 or 2 racing tracks, and this level theme is very well done. The first stage starts at daytime with you heading in from a wrecked pirate ship, only to make your way inside the caves of the island, finding destroyed pirate ships with some being turned into little forts, sliding across ropes tied to masts, and ending in a vault of gold. It's great. It then leads into Crash and Coco and explicitly tied up on a pirate ship out in the water. Tana has to rescue them by traveling along the sides of a big pirate ship. I have absolutely no idea how Crash and Coco get tied up. The last stage is nighttime in the caves, and once again the destroyed pirate ships litter the level. However, with the jetboard added here, it adds a slightly new perspective. I also love how in the last stage there's a segment where you can see a sea monster, only to find it as the mini-boss to wrap up the dimension. Oh, and the enemies, they're all pirates. It's great.
This dimension is great. There isn't concrete theme progression, but each level feels different. The ambiance of something bigger lurking in the background is amazing. And I mean, come on, it's pirates. What do you want from me?
Number 4, the 11th dimension, and I know there's only 10 dimensions, that's just its name.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
This is the 6th dimension and the quintessential Crash Ice World, and this is how you do theme progression. And this is only the 4th place level, so you'll see a stark difference between no progression, good progression, this, and amazing progression once we get up to the top. But here it's done so well nonetheless. The first stage starts in an old-fashioned fishing village where you slowly make your way upstream, into the second stage where you slowly make your way into Cortex's makeshift base as you begin to see what I assume are cloning machines for his minion. The third stage ends with you deep in Cortex's base, exploding walls of nitro and chasing him while riding Polar down the side of a snowy mountain to his blimp. And with it being Cortex's base, the enemies here are Cortex's minions. However, that's only once you get inside his base. The whole first level's enemies are just random fishermen. Or zombie fishermen? Yeah, I don't know. Also, Cortex's theme being in the song for Bears Repeating is amazing.
So you have a classic Crash theme with the ice, you actually have some progressing through the levels, and the levels look nice. Honestly though, the background nor the foreground stand out to me, but hey, that's why there's 3 dimensions ranked in front of it. Hey, top 3. Coming in with the bronze medal, we have...
Number 3, Mosquito Marsh, the 5th dimension in the Southern Bayou themed levels, and wow, one of these levels here just stands out so much more than the others. 3 guesses which? Yes, the first stage here, Offbeat, is just amazingly designed. Being themed off of the Day of the Dead parade in New Orleans, the music, the ghosts, the instruments, it's all so amazing. It's a shame it's only that insane for one level. Yes, the next 2 levels are basically just swamp themed. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but seriously, there's Dingodyle's stage, and it's in the heart of the swamp around where its restaurant is located. The 3rd stage is Crash, and you're making it from the edge of the city out onto the swamp. The enemies here are completely different in the 1st stage than the next 2, being more ghosts and skeletons for Dia de los Muertos, and the swamp being riddled with big insects. While on Dingodyle's food barge, there are a bunch of swamp huts in the background. It looks pretty cool.
And yes, honestly, Offbeat is carrying the weight here. I mean, if it was just 3 swamp levels, this dimension would probably have ranked a little bit lower. And taking the silver trophy,
Number 2, Cortex Island, the final dimension in Crash 4, and the lead into this dimension is where Cortex gets the bright idea to steal Capunawa and uses her to take himself back to 1996 to stop himself from creating Crash in the first place. So yes, this dimension is Cortex's castle from 1996, the castle from Crash 1, and it's amazing. It's nostalgic, there's portraits of Cortex's family all around, Cortex is arguing with himself over the speakers, it's hilarious. And the first level in this dimension is nitro processing, and as the name suggests, this is under the castle and where all of the nitro is processed. It's reminiscent of toxic waste, except the sewers here are wide open. The whole first stage basically consists of large water wheels and green sludge everywhere. The second level, Toxic Tunnels, is more of the same. It's less of a sewer and more of tunnels. There are minecarts driving around, a bunch of electrical items, and more green sludge. It does feel rather similar to the first stage in the dimension. That is, until you get to the end of this stage. You start scaling a wall until you're progressing over a lava river outside of the tunnels, making your way up to Cortex's castle, which of course leads into the last stage, Cortex's castle. And it's basically just parts of Cortex's castle. There are a couple parts that are hallways with carpets and pictures. However, most of this level is just parts of the castle where the castle walls are basically falling apart. I mean, it's awesome, there are monitors and Cortex banners everywhere, and it's cool.
The overall progression of down into the tunnels, up into Cortex's castle is amazing. The second level could have tried to feel a little bit more different, but thankfully for this level, it has the nostalgia going for it. And now, the best dimension in Crash 4, in my opinion that is, but honestly I have a strong feeling this is a majority of other people's favorite dimension as well, and that's gotta be
Number 1, Bermugula's Orbit, the 8th dimension and the best themed dimension in Crash 4, It's About Time. Taking place in the orbit of Bermugula, the planet closest to Entropy's Rift generator, but it's a Gasmoxian ship. Yeah, I don't know. It's the race of kart-driving aliens from CTR, and I guess the Entropies took over their ship? Not sure. But you're on a spaceship, or a space station? Either way, it's pretty awesome. Being able to see outside of the huge spaceship and traveling between different parts of it is just so cool. Cortex puts a tractor beam on Oxide's smaller ship, and the second stage, Stowing Away, starts. And while the first stage had you feeling like you were traversing around a large space station, the second stage really feels like you're climbing inside of the vents of a smaller spaceship. Oxide talks over the monitors, and there's mention of his cart getting stolen. Hilarious. Progressing through the innards of Oxide's ship, you get to a small garage where you take a very small spaceship down to the planet's orbit. And this stage here is mainly responsible for this dimension coming in first. You land on a new planet, and much like Offbeat, Crash Landed is such an amazingly original and unique stage. The colors, the styles of the walls, plants, animals, everything is just so bizarre. I will admit, at this point in my first playthrough, I was feeling like giving up on the game, but even with those feelings, I was completely taken aback by the design of this environment here. I will say it's kind of a shame that only one level in the game takes place on the actual planet you're in orbit of, while 2 stages are just in a spaceship, and also a shame that the only level with such an amazing environment was such a hard level.
Yes, Bermugula's Orbit is just so amazingly designed, and yes, mainly that does come down to Crash Landed, but I have a really strong feeling that the space station theme would have done remarkably well on its own. You know, just maybe not first place good. But wow, once you get down onto the surface of the planet, it is unlike anything else that this game has to offer. So beautiful, so amazing. And that's gonna wrap this one up. Let me know down below what your favorite dimension is in Crash 4, or let me know why I'm wrong. That never seems to get old. Smash that like button if you enjoyed. Make sure you're subscribed and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on other great videos like this. Coming up next, I'll probably be ranking the inverted themes. I know most of them are extremely lackluster, but there are a couple in there that really shine, and I really wanted to talk about. And besides that, I don't know, share this video with someone else you know who really likes Crash. And when they say, why did you send me this guy's video? Say, I don't know. The guy in the video asked nicely. And until next time, peace.